at 7 PM, Monday, August 26th, Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, regular meeting. Roll call, Peter Marchand, Vice Chair, Will Platt, John Cooney, and our town planner, Craig Clausen, George Clausen, excuse me, Craig Sandon, and Charlene Leloy are absent, excused. So, we have no public, so there's no public comment. For agenda review, I'd just like to add a discussion, PZC number 24-9, special permit, earth excavation permit, West Chow / Daniel Stoughton. Any other agenda review? Public hearings, none. New business, PZC 24-10, zoning regulation amendment, application, Town of Winchester. Proposal, Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission recognize the need for municipal and privately owned public parking lots to support a vibrant downtown. The proposed regulation changes are intended to allow for parking lots as a principal use in the town center residential, town center, and town gateway zoning districts. Adam Pagliaroli is also in attendance and is seated. Okay, Lance, one thing before you get into it, on the back of the first sheet, it says parking lot small scale, and below it, up at the top, it says parking lot small scale, and that should be large scale.
Oh, thank you. There actually was a version where we caught that, so
Yes.
thank you for seeing that.
Yep. But just so when it goes to the COG, it's corrected. So, I'll let you go ahead.
Okay.
That was also on the other paper here that are stapled together on the second page.
Okay.
Both papers had the same thing.
Yes, thank you. All right. So what do we want to talk about? So you saw the version with the X'd out edits from our current zoning regulations, and then what I did was I printed off a copy that has now this like the cleaner version of it that we basically would propose for the COGS review for comments in the next 30 days. I did on Friday let Rob know that this was coming down the line, and I said it's not formal yet because in case you guys had any changes tonight, but I just wanted to let him know that we do want to put this in the pipeline for a review, preferably by the end of September, so we can make a decision on a public hearing on this. So he was, fine with that. He was just asking some questions, and like I said, I'm giving all the credit to Rista. She did meet with Jeff and I on a few occasions, but really this is her terminology that she came up, put together. I think it's very clean, it's very easy to read, I think it's very user-friendly. She did a really nice job.
Yeah, I've read through the whole thing a couple times, and I think it's excellent. I mean, if we, like anything else, if we find an issue with it at some point, we can make corrections, but at least this gives us a regulation to start with. I didn't really see any problems with anything in there. It's very simple, self-explanatory.
We pretty much incorporated all your comments from previous meetings, unless you see anything that we didn't get, because I know you were very vocal. But I know there's that caveat at the end where the commissioner may waive any of these items required for a site plan application, which I thought was smart, which would be a good catch-all.
Yes, the waiver clause that if we wish to waive on the very last page, that commission may waive any of these items required for a site plan application if the commission determines the information is not needed to determine compliance with these regulations. That gives us some leeway and to help people a little bit. Plus, if we need to with full board, hopefully the next meeting we'll have a full board that we need to discuss it some more.
So,
We can.
I got one question on how it would work if somebody came in with a site plan for the parking lot. We've done away with, first of all, in 2, we require a signed, sealed by a professional engineer, landscape architect, or plan. But then 3, the commission may waive any of these items required for a site plan application if the commission determines the information is not needed. So, how does that come before us to get waived without having a complete plan?
So ideally, the applicant would come in and we would give them these guidelines. These are all the things that we're looking for to make a decision. If there's some piece of it, I can't give an example at the moment, but let's say an A2 survey doesn't really make a lot of sense because a Class D survey or something could get you the same information.
But we
Maybe
give
as
them-
long as
We
it
have the
has.
option of not needing any of that information, but yet, when do we say we don't need it?
That you may have to trust the staff. I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe it ends up being a judgment call in the office and then we bring it before you guys, but I'm not sure what would be the most efficient way to address that.
That's what I thought it meant.
Well, and I mean, if, say, staff says, well, we don't think you need an A2 survey, then it comes to us and we discuss it. At that point, we may tell them they need an A2 survey.
That's true.
The problem then is gonna be that
Well,
it's
hold
gonna
up.
take them 6 months or more
Right.
to get an A2 survey done.
Right.
So at that point, we would have to advise them to withdraw their application, or we'd have to reject it or deny it without prejudice at that time.
Mhm.
That's the only issue I see with it. So,
But that would mean that something got missed before,
well, I'm just saying, if staff says, well, you know, we think they'll waive it, you know, submit it, the application without the A2 survey, and then it comes to us and we start looking at it more in depth, or we actually view the property, we may determine it does need an A2 survey, you know.
If there's a boundary that's in question. We lean towards being very conservative.
Right, I
We
mean,
tell
or
people this is really the
neighbors,
best way to make it
adjoining
go
property
through
owners,
quickly.
you
Mhm.
know, may have,
I mean, any parking lot we
Maybe
do is
problem.
probably gonna be a major thing to begin with.
I would say so, yes.
So, it's just that,
Yeah.
I was reading it and it's like, how does this work?
Mhm.
We say at the end, you might not need anything, but we say at the beginning, you gotta have it. So it's just a little thought about how does that actually work?
Yeah, I could see where it can become a problem, but
You're saying
I
if
don't know how to
somebody
fix it, so.
contested it?
how do you fix it, you know?
I don't know. I think that number 3 statement is important to have on there. But I also feel like these are the regulations that we're following for parking, so you should do as best you can to meet those guidelines. And again, if there's something that, again, I don't have a great example because we haven't had one yet, but if there's something that just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, and the staff would recommend they don't need to do that extra work to figure that out.
In
Well, then they still
reality-
come before you guys and you can decide if you think we were wrong, but.
In reality, I mean, how many standalone parking lots are we actually gonna see? The next thing. I think it'll be very few.
It's gonna be very few in the beginning, and then we'll see how it plays out. Somebody may decide, hey, I can make some money doing parking in Winstead.
Not in Winston.
Well, when the downtown's bustling.
There you go, yeah. Anything, Adam, or?
I just noticed that part of this is we're consolidating site plan requirements. I heard it earlier, but I guess it didn't sink in fully. But that applies to all applications?
Major or minor?
Yeah.
Additionally,
Like,
Winchester
part of this
Winchester
is
would like to eliminate
consolidating
distinction
site plan.
I guess in relationship to parking lots, that would be, wouldn't be gone from the regulations, it would just be,
So are we taking the language of site plan requirements and duplicating it into the parking
correct,
and then revising it from there?
correct. Yep. So all those standards that you already have in the regulations for what, parking areas need would remain in place.
interpretation is strictly for parking.
Correct. Yep.
Is there a reason why we want to duplicate much of our language in a separate location? Is there a driving force for that? I heard Rissa speak of it, and it kind of just like glossed over, but now I see it with my own eyes. I'm like, so we're duplicating pretty much all the language of site plan requirements, except for we're not making a distinction of major versus minor. There's some other stuff to the exception. Just curious.
Yeah. As much as our regulations are already very wordy, it might not be the worst thing for reinforcement to have it stated again.
So if this is dedicated for parking lots only,
Yes.
that there are some stuff that doesn't really apply, doesn't make sense in those site plan requirements, but so be it, let it go forward, I guess.
How about,
All town center residential, we're gonna exclude it from town center residential, right?
correct, I think they finally went to town center, town gateway, and, oh no, town center residential is a permitted, yep, for small scale.
Okay. I was reading through it, then I started to get to some details where it's, including hours of operation, okay, maybe a parking lot does have an hour operation, number of employees, and I guess at some point in time, maybe. Floor plans.
Where do you see floor plans?
Architectural plans, including
Huh.
exterior elevations, floor plans, and exterior materials and colors. It's just like,
That might not be
do
necessary, you're
we
right,
keep
but-
that all in there,
Mm.
or does this make sense, for one, to have it nearly duplicated under parking lots? And then
Yeah.
two, if we're gonna revise it and critique it to parking lots, some of the stuff doesn't make sense.
The only thing I didn't see in here, Lance, was any requirements for any signage. I mean, it talks about striping,
Yep.
layout and stuff, but,
XIX, location, height, size, and design of all existing proposed exterior signs and advertising features. There's a size, shape, and location of all existing landscape features, including large trees, pools, in case you have a pool in the parking lot, and a deck, patios, exterior lighting. So it's just, does it make sense to duplicate the site plan requirements in this section 1, and then 2 is, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a little worried. Maybe throw out some of this stuff, junk, it doesn't apply to parking lots.
I have another question.
Kind of leaning towards keeping it in there.
I have noticed
You
in
felt
some
strongly,
parking areas in town, the way they're designed, when the cars park there, cars actually protrude over the sidewalks.
So curb stops you want?
And we don't have anything in here about the design to make, so parking lots so the cars don't protrude over the sidewalk.
Yep.
So,
Good catch, we could add it.
Parking strip layout, that's about as close as you get, including lawn areas. Location of existing and proposed street trees and curb cuts is, section XI.
Do you want me to add it there?
I would
Curb
think
stop?
it'd be a good idea.
Okay.
got anything else on that? Not, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
It's not a public hearing, so.
No, new business, but
new
that's
bus-
okay.
Close new business
Through your
anyways.
curveball.
But
I will put on record, I know you guys teased that you say this is taking a long time, but like I said, we started working on this in April, so that at the end of August now to have something in writing, that in government time is like a week.
in state time, it's like.
State time, that's,
three-
yeah.
3 days.
Yeah, maybe a day. So, but I do appreciate all everybody's
The time that it
contributions to
took to
it.
do this is like lightning speed as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, it is compared to other things that have done, so it's much appreciated the work you and Rista put into this.
This is all new for me, so it was kind of fun.
Well, it's, yeah, and Rista's got a lot of experience and knowledge in that area, which is good, so. Under old business, PZC 24-10, the zoning regulation amendment, applicant Town of Winchester, proposal, Winchester Planning and Zoning Commission, recognized need for municipal and privately owned public parking lots to support a vibrant downtown. Proposed regulation changes are intended to allow for parking lots as a principal use in the town center residential, town center, and town gateway zoning districts. I will make a motion that we approve the draft regulations and forward them on to the Northwest COG for review, and also set a public hearing for this for Monday, September 23rd.
So, whoa, before we go any further. Didn't we in this paper here have Highland Lake Business District? Parking lot is and we don't have anything to do?
That was,
That was just
you talked
proposed?
about parking areas,
Yeah, there was none.
because
Well,
they
we're getting
figured it
rid
was
of that.
under 5.
And then Highland Lake District, okay. I'm good with it then.
Yeah.
Just had to get my,
then I will second if you're finished.
All in favor? Nobody opposed, unanimous.
done.
No, we're not.
No, that's done.
We're
That's-
done.
That's done.
Other business, I had brought up about discussion in a PZC application 24-9, special permit for earth excavation. Applicant was Wes Clow, Daniel Stoughton, owner Winston Realty LLC. What'd you give it for an address finally?
Actually, we talked about it yet again
Alright.
today. They've been really great
Okay.
about,
Well,
like
it was
I
0
said.
Torrington Road on this, so.
Yeah, we're hoping to change it in the future to 244, because it's super convenient. There's a bunch of zeros.
Basically,
trying
we've
to-
had a couple discussions, a couple meetings on it. The application was submitted June 11th, supposedly accepted August 12th, but it was an incomplete application and still is incomplete. And I know you were trying to change type of application from earth excavation to storage yard, things like that. But
They were worried that they're gonna lose their use if they brought it down to a storage,
Right.
and landscaping area, and I tried to say, no, right, technically, right now, they don't have any permit for the property.
Right.
So it's a violation, which if they don't move,
Right.
again, they've been terrific with keeping in contact with us, so there's really no reason for us to go after them for violation just yet,
Well, and
but if
they're
they
kind of-
don't
Yes.
put their permit in quickly, we will have to. But I'm trying to say, if you want it in the meantime, because that's really how they're utilizing the property. I mean, we go and take pictures of it. There's not much happening there. They're just moving some
I've been
logs
by
every
several
once in a
times, and I
while.
don't see a lot of activity
And
anytime
the-
I've been by, other than storing a few trailers there and.
Even the tidy storage trailer, there's only 2 there. I think last time there was 3. I mean, they're not coming and going very often either. But they do need some kind of permit in place, so
Yes.
that's why I was recommending, go with that special permit. They're gonna have their survey anyways. They're working with Tim Wiley. But they're not planning on doing any excavation until
Well,
down
and
the
I
line.
think that may happen in a year or two when
Right.
they finish, close up the Torrington site, because I know they just renewed their permit there for 2 years. And newspaper articles, it sounded like it'll be their last permit, because they'll have mined all they could out of that site at that point, so they'll probably be moving northward to another site in Winston at that point, but,
So I offered if they wanted to just meet, because it sounded like there was some confusion. They're worried that they're gonna lose a status, and the answer is no. It's in the town gateway. If you wanna apply for the earth excavation, that's an appropriate spot for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, when the time comes. But in the meantime, they should have this special permit in place, and hopefully they'll,
But I think at this point, based on the time that's gone by, that we should have a motion to deny without prejudice this application, and so they can reapply at a later date when they're able to get all the required paperwork that we need, the survey and updated site plan for us. That way there we know.
and I
what-
think that's fine. Again, they've been a very good partner.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Good
we've worked with them before with their,
conversations.
up on North Main and everything else.
Mhm.
And I just don't want to have this go forward, and I've talked with George on it, and out of a sudden, they get an automatic approval for that.
Okay, so.
No, I know, there's
I know,
a,
I
there's
know
an issue
you
with
guys have
dates.
all been trying one way, and
So-
we just went through Casio, and they said, it's not until you accept it, that's when the clock starts. So they could sit in open.gov for a year. I mean, we're not obligated to move on the application if it's incomplete, but we obviously try to have communications with them.
Now, is Kevin
all the
Milligan
time.
is that-
I didn't
ask
follow
Kevin?
up with him, but we're,
Because that's the person I would ask.
All
When
right.
we go to court,
I think I
he
did
will be
ask.
the one representing us.
I think I did ask Shane to ask him,
But
but,
I will make a motion to deny permit, let's see, PZC, what number do we have? 24-9, special permit, earth excavation, applicant West Plow, Daniel Stoughton. Deny without prejudice due to application incomplete at this time.
I will second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
okay.
Unanimous.
We will continue to work with them, so
No,
it'll stay on the radar.
No, and, yes, we're not trying to be bad people or.
No,
clients
and I don't
stuff,
think they
but
are either, so that's why I think in this case, we're very
definitely.
fortunate.
Want to work with them and that, you know? Okay, you had follow-up discussion for
Yeah,
other business?
actually, I didn't even put correspondence on this agenda, oops,
Well,
sorry
just
about
other business that was there.
that. Okay. So we did have, and I'll be honest, there's been some ongoing, probably all summer at 88 Hubbard, and I think part of the consternation, if I want to use a big word, is because of the Hubbard Street work that's going on as well.
Construction aggravates it that much more,
Right.
yes.
So I think maybe, hopefully you saw pictures that were submitted by one of the residents that showed that VPN is using the roadway for their materials. I spoke with Alex directly. He said he's trying to do more stuff behind the building, be a better neighbor. Clearly that didn't happen, so I'm gonna follow up with the building owner or property manager, who Jeff and I actually did meet on site with. And it was a good conversation. It was a little heated, unfortunately. It wasn't meant to be. Not our end, hers. She was upset. And I kept saying it. It's not the building. Nobody has a concern about blight on the
Yeah,
building.
It's the tenants.
It's the tenants, and it's the use that's going on outside that's in the past, you know, has always been indoor practices, so it hasn't been an issue. We looked through our file pretty completely, and the only thing you could find was a permit that had been issued back in 2004 for a used car, R&S Motorsports LLC. Does anybody even remember that?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's
I
the
don't
last.
think they did a lot there. They weren't there long,
Okay.
I believe, but
That's the last like outside activity there's ever been on the property. So it's on Dino Corporation if they want to say, well, there's this a like service or like activity for them to continue to do this. But really, they should be applying for something, and that's what we're trying to have a conversation about.
I don't know about currently the upstairs Hubbard Street level. Used to have a small manufacturing business in there at one time, but I don't know if it's
She
empty
said the
or-
building's pretty full except
And
for like one wood
downstairs
shop.
behind it, R&M Insulation had that whole area until he built his own building over off of Route 20. And so I'm not sure who's in there. I know there's been tree service companies in there in and out
Yep.
over the years.
And there's
Sandy
not-
Brook Trees in there.
Sandy Brook Tree, I know, was in there, and there's been
In the-
several different businesses that,
The main tenant right in the front, I can't think of, it's like a glass place, I think. He has expanded and
Oh, yeah?
taken over the whole front
Upstairs?
space. Yep,
oh yeah? Oh, good.
so. So she
Yeah.
says there's a lot of activity, even though it seems like
Yeah,
there
I
isn't,
mean,
but-
I've had people, within the last couple of years, look for place for business to storage, lawn landscaping, people looking for some inside storage,
And
their
I
equipment,
actually
things, and
said that to her. I said,
they
you know,
actually had to go out of town because they couldn't find anything here. That building was
so,
full.
now that I'm working with EDC, that's something that comes up all the time, is we would have to have like a running list of where's available,
Hmm.
500 square foot building
Yes.
that somebody needs that they can move right in.
Yeah, they're
So
looking for
we're doing
500
that
to 1,000
inventory,
square
but-
feet.
Wow. I've been talking about that for 2 years.
5,000 square foot, but yes. We're
So-
working on it.
The complaints on 88 Hubbard Street, it's mostly the VPA is unloading and loading trucks in the front of the building,
And then
in the
there's
street.
a blight complaint with storage of pallets and outside materials for roofing.
Do we have a ordinance about no outside storage of pallets?
No.
Because I
but-
think every manufacturing company in
Because
town
like,
probably stores pallets outside.
Right.
got HO products and their pallets are stored
I mean,
outside.
I know
You
some
can see it
towns
from Main
do.
Street,
Mhm.
Like
pretty much every
Farmington does,
manufacturer.
and you can't put them out, anything outside.
Because that
But
was
other
one of the
towns-
things we did with Tractor Supply when we were reviewing their application about
make
where
sure
they were
it's
gonna
screened in.
store their outside pallets inside a
Yeah.
fenced-in area away from the building and
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah, and there's nothing in our regulations.
Well, we have spoken and said, either a fence or some kind of landscape buffer would be better
Mm.
and would be the easiest way to really go forward. But so far, no headway, even though I
Really,
brought
all they
everybody
need to
into
do
the
is put a
conversation.
fence up on the road,
Right.
leave the entry on the right-hand side open,
Mhm.
put a fence up there so nobody can look in back.
Right.
Well, and then you had need it the other side of the building too, along where the trees are.
Yeah.
There's another driveway that comes out up there at the very end of the street.
Is what they're doing a permitted use?
Technically, VPN, because they're outside of their garage space, I would say no. And Sandy Brook Tree Company, I would also say no. They should have something.
Special permitted or?
They might be able to, well, the weird thing is the zone. It's in the town center residential, so the only one that could make sense was the industrial
It's an
heritage.
industrial building that's been there for,
Right.
Ever. And those people that did complain, if they had ever owned the property and lived there when Hickey Fur was there, they would be thrilled to have what's there now.
well, when Castle Rock was in there,
Because
it
the
was bad
smell of
too.
it, or, dealing with all the furs and everything like that, it was horrendous.
They used to make fiberglass
Yes.
store stuff in
Yes,
there.
yeah.
And with all that fiberglass resin and everything, that place
They'd be
stunk
spraying
then, too.
fiberglass resin and everything else in the
Yeah.
building and venting it outside. and, yeah, it
What's
was-
happening now is,
I was gonna say, this sounds a
It's
lot
much
better.
cleaner and
Yeah.
better, but,
Yeah,
and I think VPN, I think that's one of the companies that they had trouble with up in back of Kent Pizza
They did.
and
They
that
moved
area
there.
and operating out of,
They need
yes.
to move to
So they have a
137
history.
Torrington Road.
they have a history in town of
Yeah.
issues, let's put it that way.
I've had good conversations with Alex though, and he
Yeah.
says that I don't know, you hear from both sides. So.
Right, I mean, looking at the pictures, why isn't he have a 30-yard dumpster on site where he's dumping the shingles into instead of a dump trailer? Things like that, if that's what is,
Or if you could do it behind the building.
well,
where
and
there's
do it
space.
down behind the building. out of
Right.
si-
so,
yes,
yeah,
where it's out
that's
of
pretty
sight,
easily
you know,
done, and then
Yes.
just tell them, no more,
A roll-off dumpster,
no more unloading your trucks in the street.
right. There's a large enough driveway and yard there to get a tractor trailer in to unload, trucks with a Moffett. I'm sure the company's coming unloading shingles and materials with a Moffett unit.
So
Work
if
with.
if this was a new operation coming to the town, they would apply for a special permit, and then we'd have to add all these requirements into the special permit?
Right.
And that's the alternative, right,
Right.
for them?
So either be a better neighbor or
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
before the board.
Oh.
Yeah, I understand from the neighborhood why they're upset, but I also agree the building's been there for 70 years,
Yeah.
and you kind of knew what you're getting yourself
70,
into.
I think it's been there 120.
Longer than that.
Long time. That's for sure.
So.
Well, whatever you and Jeff.
But
are-
we follow up on every complaint, as you
Yeah.
know, so
No,
that's why I wanted to
Jeff
bring
are
it to your
working on
attention.
and, Yeah, read everything and, exactly, so that's all you can do is try to get to the tenants to conform.
Mhm.
So, that I can see.
Denise Evans in her letter refers to it as VPA. Is VPA and VPN the same thing?
I'm sorry, VPA is correct.
Is
Did I say
VPA?
VPN?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what is she talking about? Do you know about contractors, excessive speed by subcontractors? Is she talking about on the road? I didn't know what that meant. Have you talked to Denise?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I believe that's what's implied, is that they're,
Speeding up and
Driving on
down
the
the
road
road. I
fast.
wasn't sure.
yeah.
She kind of goes in that paragraph, she's kind of not breathing.
Mm.
There's no,
And I did let our police chief know, that we had a complaint that the road was blocked, and he was very supportive. He said, well, if they tell us, we'll send an officer.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's-
that's
this
what they
isn't
need to call.
technically zoning at that point.
Right,
but-
it's not a zoning issue, but
Right.
the hours of operation, could very well be. I mean, at 7 AM is reasonable, they are allowed at 7 AM
Mhm.
to be working, but not before that. And I don't know what time hours or weekends they're doing, but that may be something to be discussed too.
and the stacking of unused trashed industrial materials, that's just being left on the ground? Did she
Some
say
of
that?
it
I didn't see a
is-
picture of that.
Yeah, there was a picture of it piled along the road, along the trees
Oh,
there.
okay. Well, they can't do that, right? I mean, that's,
They shouldn't be.
Why not? Just wood processing.
No, this was shingles.
Oh, the shingles.
Piles of
building
shingles.
Oh, pile of
materials.
shingles, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I thought she said building.
unless there's no outside storage of materials. And most of this is, in my mind, is just housekeeping.
Yeah,
They're-
exactly.
They're very poor at housekeeping.
Yep.
Has VPA got any inside stuff there?
Supposedly, yes. I think Jeff and Steve Williams, before he retired, went and checked it out inside to
So
make sure it was
VPA
no.
should be keeping their stuff inside the building.
Mhm.
If their trucks are outside, well, that's okay,
Right.
in my mind.
Yeah,
It's
trucks,
just
trailers,
keep
all
the
that stuff.
materials
Yeah,
and
right.
keep the yard clean.
Because R&M used to keep a lot of his trucks there until he built the new warehouse,
Yeah.
so he didn't have them all at his house.
Well, he used to get
Which-
deliveries in the middle of the freaking night.
Yep.
Even when he moved the stuff up on the hill
Yeah,
to his sister's place, there's trucks going up there at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
right.
But I think since VPA moved in, there was a lot of traffic
I think that's what it is.
between them and then,
Between the employees and
yeah.
Sandy Brook Services and everything.
Mhm.
Do you have any other discussion on our meeting from the 15th?
I guess that was actually on the
We
other
kinda covered
agenda.
it.
I don't know why,
Okay.
but, yeah, but I don't think we did it on camera, so we should. For those that are interested, we had a land use summit, back on August 15th, which, was decided not to be recorded because it was audibly recorded. Well,
Recorded.
it was recorded, I
Not on
should say
YouTube.
that, but just not on YouTube, because I wanted to give people an opportunity to speak freely, and actually, that's exactly what happened. Everybody participated, which was terrific. As you saw probably in the email, Inland Wetlands was like, why are we coming? There's nothing we're gonna ended up, discussing that'll affect them, and they were probably one of the biggest contributors to the
Yeah,
conversation.
With the pervious versus impervious paving and things like that, they were, big
So we-
discussion, and more to come on it, that's
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
only got through like half of our items, but I did think the conversation was very productive, and we said, well, did we solve everything? That was what we were saying on our wrap-up on that Friday. I said, well, no, but at least we're talking about it, and we have marching orders to go forward, in my mind. And when I do the write-up for you guys before the September meeting, hopefully you'll agree with kind of what we came away with for
Well, and there's things
things to
we're
work
gonna
on.
discuss, some changes we may need to make, or
Mhm.
whatever, I mean, like the,
So impervious surfaces is everybody's concern.
Mhm.
Now, to my mind, it's either we remove it from the ordinance, or we can be very, very tough on it.
Mhm.
So there's just, that's, in my mind, that's where it's gotta go.
Mhm.
I mean, you've heard inland wetlands complaining about what can be done under the decks and everything, so.
It was also good for them, I think, because they do end up talking a little bit about zoning when they're
Mhm.
making their decisions. And so, yeah, I appreciated Russ spoke up and said, you know, is that something that should be more commonplace?
Well, it was good we had Kevin here, where there was subject to interpretation, some of our regulations, and you had one thought, Shane had one thought, I had another, and Kevin brought it out, now, here's what it is, that's it. you know.
I'm always looking for the simplest way to do
Right,
it,
but
and I was wrong, and I
It was
admitted
nice
it.
having
That's
him
fine.
there because he said, this is the way it is.
Mhm.
And
But our regs don't explicitly state the difference between the special exception and variance.
Yeah.
I think well enough. It's left for open
Right.
interpretation.
Yes. Yep.
But we're also going to help a ZBA, because I think it's challenging for them to say no, but if they have staff comments that say, this is what is allowed and why you maybe necessarily shouldn't vote in favor because of the potential impacts, then it takes the onus off of them a little bit more, I think, and puts it on us, which is fine. And I said to Jeff, you know, that we should have probably been doing that all along. So we'll be better about that when we give our staff comments on each of the applications.
Yeah.
Because there was one most recently, and I'm not gonna say address, that I felt pretty strongly shouldn't have been approved. And when it gets built, you'll understand why.
I've
But-
seen a lot of those, and
Mhm.
like, how could it been approved? It's like,
Mhm.
and,
I'd like to ask that next meeting.
yeah.
I'm gonna ask it.
So,
Okay, good. Yeah, make some notes, things you wanna bring
no,
up, so.
exactly, so. no,
That's what we do. Every time weird comes something in the office, we write it down on our list. We're like, we'll bring
yeah,
it up
I mean,
at the summit.
Maybe we've gotta revise some regulations, I mean, that's, at some point,
Or just to make sure we're consistent.
consistent.
As long as we all understand what the regulations were saying,
Yes.
then I think that's fine too.
That's the main thing, and staff to understand
Mhm.
how we interpret the regulations and
Mhm.
what they should be done. So. All right, anything else, anybody? Approval of minutes from August 12th? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of August 12th, 2024, planning and zoning meeting. Need a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? You were here, Adam.
Yeah,
You
I was
seated,
you were
though.
here.
'Cause I seated.
Okay. I wasn't seated though, so I gotta.
So Lance,
Oh, you
I
were
have
alternate, that's right,
a
yes.
question about the minutes.
Mhm.
Why are they getting posted before we approve them?
Shouldn't be.
They are.
All right.
Yeah, because they're on the website
They're on the website
These
before
a couple
we
of days
approve them.
last-
before.
oh,
yeah.
really?
I mean, Lauren's great with them, she's quick, but they're posted like within a few days of our meeting.
All right, let
even
me
though they
make
haven't been
sure.
approved. And I know I've seen some other commissions.
You know what? I'm sorry, that's on me, because I ask Shane to do her magic, which
Okay.
means take them in, make them into a PDF and then post them on the website. So, you're right, we should be waiting
And I mean, if
until
we
they're
make
approved.
corrections,
Well, the only
if we
thing is-
accept them,
Yeah, after the meeting, they're supposed to be posted online within 7 days,
right.
so.
So
Let
then,
me find out.
If they're supposed to be posted within 7 days, that's okay. But when we make a correction to the minutes,
It goes in the next set,
Yeah.
if there's any corrections.
Then there has to be
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
revision, yep.
we have to do a
Posted.
revision.
Yeah, because I think in the town clerk's office, isn't it within 24 hours?
I think it's a week.
Is it a week? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I wasn't sure what it was. Okay. Anybody got anything else? Nothing. How's that?
That was good.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Okay, all in favor? 20 minutes of 8. How's that one, huh? That's a record,
That's efficient.
huh?
That's efficient. I like that.
Should I text George and tell him, hey, George?
No,